Greetings. I am Thomas Carney. I was a soldier in the American Revolutionary War. I was born in 1754 in the colony of Maryland on its peninsula, the Eastern Shore. Our family had a small farm not far from the Choptank River of the Chesapeake Bay. It's there that we worked hard every day. Lots of vegetables, fruits, tobacco, and herbs we grew. And with our skeps and maple trees, we had plenty of sweets too. Sometimes Pa would have us load our best wagon with the goods of our farm. Produce, crafts, and treats that Ma would make fresh the night before. That wagon was just like a little store. Then he and I, and sometimes my little brother too, would set out to sell around the Eastern Shore. One fine spring dawn, it was in May of 1774, Pa said, "We're going to Chester today," and I was glad. Chester's a grand old town with lots to do, interesting things to eat and drink, and all the latest news. Pa had a cousin there too we'd sometimes see, a waterman who lived on Water Street at Scotts Point, a Chestertown Black community. Arriving in Chester, it was High Street that we headed down, making our way to the harbor where market stalls, businesses, and trades all abound. However, on this day, the fine streets were packed with people, activity, and uproar. Our wagon could make but a crawl. Whoa, slowing back on the reins. Hey, what's this, Pa wondered. Have we come to town in the midst of a festival here, or is this some really big brawl? When we finally reached the harbor, as I looked from the shore, there were ships out in the water with men throwing things overboard, boxes, barrels, papers, crates, and more. The Chester River had become a sea of bobbing articles and debris. A soldier in uniform was tossed into the water from a ship's bow. Frantically, he swam ashore, stood up and gestured at those men aboard while shouting as only a sailor can, a defiant vow. Cannons of the ships were fired up into the air, and musket fire on land joined in the fanfare. Even the seagulls, ducks, geese, and other birds of the shore excitedly rose in frenzied synchronized flights, bringing that flat blue sky to life. In front of the custom house, ringing his bell, a town's crier in a hat and waistcoat yelled, "Hear ye, hear ye, down with the British, their taxes and tea. We are Maryland, a land of liberty. Hear ye, hear ye." The crowd's roar swelled. And despite many a British jeer, the townspeople, they seemed to dance in revelry and good cheer. It was the Chestertown Protest Tea Party, they say. We had happened upon when we came to sell our goods there that day. Maryland, along with the other 12 American colonies, was joining against the British way of rule and taxation. The colonies, they wanted to be their own new nation. With such a crowd and commotion, it was well before sundown that our wagon load of goods were all sold. So it was early and happily that Pa had us pack up to leave the town. On the long road back to our peaceful country abode, I said, Gee, what an exciting day. But Pa responded somberly. Hey, have not too much glee there in your reverie. The British will not take kindly to Chester, Boston, Annapolis, and other towns of their colonies destroying British tea and property. All these protests are going to stir a great war upon us from across the sea. And that, my son, is cause for great solemnity. Just a year later, the War for Independence did indeed come, and with large numbers of soldiers in splendid red coats from Great Britain. In 1776, our governor, Thomas Johnson, and the American general, George Washington, both made calls for all able-bodied men to sign up for the fight for this our homeland to defend. 22 years old at that time, over 6 feet tall and strong as can be. I have it in mind to join in this most noble fight, has rallied many of the men of our community. But Ma wanted me to be safe and stay home. And Pa, he told me I was needed to help in all the work on our farmland and not to roam. But then Grandpa asked, is not this fight for our very land? Perhaps this is the time to take a stand. It is a chance for us to help make this new country for all of our liberty. You should let him go if he wants. This may well be his destiny. And so it was that I came to venture far from home unto a path unknown, embarking upon a bold new journey. That was a compilation of excerpts from part 1 of the story of Mr. Thomas Carney, a Maryland patriot of the American Revolutionary War. This is the first book written on a Maryland African American soldier of the War for Independence. He was a free African American. And so much of the stories of our free Blacks have been omitted from our history. So this book is written as an introduction to the great history of the many free African Americans, half of our early story that has been left out. Mr. Carney fought in many battles across the mid-Atlantic and the South. So his story isn't just a Maryland story, isn't just an African American story. It's the story of our American narrative that has been left out for generations. It is a remarkable gift of heritage to give. Though this book edition is geared towards our young people, it is an allegorical story that has metaphors that only an adult will realize, much like the Grimm's fairy tales. It is chock full of illustrations and maps, especially battle trail maps showing the course of battles of Mr. Carney's service. And it also engages the life and times of free African Americans living in Maryland. One of the largest populations of free Blacks was in the colony of Maryland. Just trying to show a few of the illustrations in the book. And as I said, it does show the battle courses. in the maps, which are not coming through, as well as graphic indication of Mr. Carney. I hope you will pick it up. It is an exceptional journey through the life and times of early free African Americans. Thank you, and cheers.